You're watching The Sports Objective, the podcast for Pirates.
That stadium is going to be rocking, and heaven help whoever walks in there to play us.
Sustained effort and violence, you play your ass off.
You're watching the Pirate Preview on The Sports Objective. Join us every Tuesday night on YouTube Live as we're joined by beat writers and other media members as we take a look at what lies ahead for the Pirates. Now, here are the guys.
It is a first down. Pirates.
Welcome into the Pirate Preview. We appreciate everyone tuning in to the Sports Objective tonight via YouTube, also Facebook Live, or if you're listening to archive, pretty much anywhere podcasts are found, you can find us. Pirates headed out to Provo, Utah on Friday night for matchup with the BYU Cougars, third matchup in program history with BYU. And later on tonight, we're going to talk to John Fisher, who's an equipment truck driver, as the Pirate equipment truck is currently en route to Provo. But right now, I'm very excited to be joined by former BYU quarterback and current color analyst alongside Greg Rubel. That is Riley Nelson. Really appreciate your time this evening.
Good to be with you this evening, fellas.
Well, Riley, as you take a look at this matchup, obviously BYU has had a rough go up the last few weeks, but this is a very capable football team, as we know. Ranked as high as, at least 12th or something this season. But just tell us about the last few weeks and what has been going on for the Cougars.
Yeah, I mean, it all started against Utah State. Jaron Hall sprains his AC, goes into Notre Dame not having practiced. He threw a little bit of pat and go and routes on air on Thursday, but it was only about 20 balls. Comes out, first play of the Notre Dame game, throws a pick on a ball that's like 10 yards underthrown, and it kind of set the whole tone for the game. And then the defensive woes started to emerge in that game, in that everybody in the entire stadium know that they were going to their All-American tight end, Michael Mayer, right? And BYU still couldn't stop him. He went for 13 catches, 160 yards, and 2 TDs, right? Like, it was just frustrating. But BYU fans, myself included, we kind of justified that. Like, Notre Dame's got 4- and 5-star dudes, and it was a neutral site, but it was technically, Notre Dame controlled the tickets, so it was basically an away game. We only lost by 8. All right, we can kind of stomach it. And then you come out, so that game you lose and you think you lost it because they're just better than you. Then you come out against Arkansas, who you knew was going to be a stiff challenge, but you felt like you matched up with, and you just can't keep pace in a track meet, and largely due to your own mistakes, right? Like, Arkansas wasn't doing much to defeat you. You just couldn't play clean ball. You weren't pitching and catching, and was not good, was terrible on third downs, and the defensive woes got worse. And then you think you got a get-right game, but you're traveling across the country to Virginia against a Liberty squad that was 5-1.
Looks like we lost Riley. Riley, you cut out on us there, audio and video. See if we can get Riley back.
Yeah, Riley signed out, and he'll sign back in shortly. But as he was kind of leading into, Kyle, the cross-country trip to Lynchburg, obviously Liberty made that trip out to Provo in the last year or two. And, Hugh Freeze and the Flames, they really lit BYU up. BYU jumped out to a 14-3 lead. But then from the beginning of the second quarter on, it was all Flames as Liberty outscored BYU 38-0.
Yeah, Liberty's got a good offense. I mean, Hugh Freeze is an offensive genius, and Liberty's a good football team. They're 6-1 now on the season for a reason. One thing I noticed there from Riley is he talked about the losses. You look at the quality of the opponents they lost to. Notre Dame is Notre Dame. They struggled early. They've been playing better football as of late. Arkansas's quality SEC program with a good offense. And Liberty, despite, the lack of name recognition, has been a very good football program in recent years, and they're 6-1 on the year. So BYU has still got a good football team. They've given up some points the last 2 weeks to Arkansas and to Liberty, but those are two very good offenses. So I do think maybe the demise of BYU has been a little exaggerated, but he knows better than I. But I still think they're a heck of a football team and going to be a tall task Friday night in Provo.
Yeah, one of the things not having seen, but just a few series here and there of BYU this season. One of the numbers that really jumped out to me, especially during this current 3-game losing streak, they're giving up in those 3 losses to Notre Dame, Arkansas, and Liberty. They're giving up between 270 and 275 yards rushing per game. For the season, it's 203. But that was I was like, I hope that continues. You see Keith Mitchell and Marlon Gunn, have a big evening Friday.
They're a big defense. They always have a big defense. Their defensive line's big. Linebackers are big. So if the line can block, Keaton's speed could be interesting against those guys if they have trouble stopping the run.
Yeah, Kyle, I think sorry about that, fellas, by the way. I'm on my phone, and when I got an incoming call, it kicked me out. But, Kyle, you do I am highlighting the loss, and that's kind of what everybody's focused on out here in Provo and BYU land, because, thought you had a legitimate shot against both Notre Dame and Arkansas, and then you thought you should definitely beat Liberty. And to me, the ways – and then the other thing that has happened a little bit is – your wins don't look that good. South Florida's struggling. Baylor's a 500 ball club, and Utah State and Wyoming are kind of middle of the pack to bottom half of the Mountain West. So you don't know. A lot of people are out here like, well, we thought we knew who this team was, but obviously we don't. And I mean, everybody looks after all of the BYU fans out here after kind of doing the same thing with Liberty. You say, and you are right, by the way, Hugh Freeze. I said this in the pregame. I'm like, Hugh Freeze is one of only 3 coaches to beat Nick Saban twice in Tuscaloosa. Right. That's no small accomplishment, right? And those dudes were coached up. But we see the same thing, or at least I do, see the same thing in East Carolina. You throw the ball around the yard. They got backs, small, quick backs that give defense. You guys mentioned how big the front is, but they're not the most athletic dudes. I think that's one of the things is from last year to this is – while the size on the defensive front has stayed the same, the athleticism maybe has dropped off a bit. And then the thing that's been so discouraging is, yeah, we got big dudes on the offensive and defensive side of the ball, but defensively, we are like last in the country in tackles for loss and sacks. Opponents are averaging 5 yards a carry on the season, and then offensively, BYU's managing a meager 3.2 yards a tote. When we were supposedly had 2 kind of went out in a conference, but 2 kind of all conference caliber guys that maybe the NFL was taking a look at. So BYU's got a lot of questions to answer for themselves. And I mentioned that they were hoping Liberty would be that get right game. I think people are hoping East Carolina is going to be a get right game, but they're a 5-2 squad that's got a lot to play with. And the other thing is, you guys know, being big, long-time football guys, is winning's a habit, but losing's a habit too. And a lot of what you saw against Liberty, as you mentioned, Bubba, the 38-0 run that Liberty ended the game on, there was a lot of things that came out there that made you question if, the losing tendencies were truly becoming a habit, and can this BYU team kick themselves out of it?
What is BYU's? I don't know if you're going to know this off the top of your head, but what is BYU's record in recent history coming on the East Coast? Because I know you guys played at ECU several years ago. It's one of your worst teams that I can ever remember you guys having, and the Pirates got the better of the Cougars. And then, you also Liberty. Have you guys had – I mean, I know obviously you won at South Florida, but, anybody can do that. Besides that, what is your success rate on the East Coast? Because that's a couple time zones. It seems like it would be – traveling from east to west is bad enough. Traveling from west to east is even harder. So
Florida and so it's bad. Now, it's been buoyed up the last couple of years. They went out and played UMass. They played UConn as well. So they were able to kind of get some of the lower tier programs on the East Coast and catch them. But you mentioned Florida. Yeah, they beat up on a bad South Florida team. prior to that, Zach Wilson's senior year, his bowl game, they played in the Boca Raton Bowl against Central Florida, who had lost Dylan Gabriel, right? It was a team that was really beat up, and Heupel took the Tennessee job. So, not a great – and they beat up on Central Florida, but that was their first win in Florida in program history. They were 0-8 going in, including myself. I went down and took a beating at the hands of the Seminoles back in 2010. I'll never forget that game. No, anytime BYU has to cross 2 time zones, it does not spell good fortune for them. And you'd hope, they thought they were going to kind of have a little bit of that with Arkansas coming up to Provo, but they weren't able to slow them down in the least. I know but that was a bright, sunny, nice, warm game. You hope that the cold temps, it's going to be around 40 for most of the game with East Carolina. Hopefully that plays a little bit mentally. Maybe, out here when it gets cold in the fall nights, the ball gets a little dewy and a little slick. Maybe that slows down an East Carolina passing attack that's averaging over 300 yards a game. Maybe can slow down a little bit of the rushing attack. But those are all things. That's just wishing and hoping and luck. The reality is this BYU team, and Coach Sitake said it in the post-game interview after Liberty, is like it's looking for guys that want to play football, guys that are going to fight for 60 minutes, and guys that are going to go out and play the game the way it's supposed to be played, and it's supposed to be played violently, physically, and with great effort.
Do you feel like this is a have-to game where you guys have to have this game to have any kind of semblance of a successful season and make a bowl game?
Totally.
Yeah.
So you look at the remaining schedule. Sorry to cut you off a little bit there, but this is a have-to game, and here's why. BYU, terrible track record at Boise. You thought Boise was going to be tough the way they started the season, but then they switched offensive coordinators, and have won. They're not looking like the Boise of old, but they're looking like they're a Boise team that's 5-2, and you have to play them at home, and they are going to be in the middle of a hunt to win the Mountain West or to be in the Mountain West Conference Championship game. So at the beginning of the season, you thought that was going to be a win. It's no longer looking that way. You've got FCS Utah Tech coming up, so there's your 5th win. And then you thought you had Stanford, right, a struggling 1-win Stanford team, until the week after you lose to Notre Dame, they turn around and beat them. So now all of a sudden, and they beat Notre Dame in South Bend. So now all of a sudden you're like, wait, Boise and Stanford aren't wins. We thought they were the first month of the season, but they're not. Okay, we'll pick up Utah Tech, but that's only 5. We have to beat ECU. BYU has to beat ECU if they even want to get to 6-6, which is the bare minimum for bowl eligibility.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but I will caution all the fan base, and people were saying the same thing here. We were a 3-3 football. What were we? 3-2. We were 3-3 football team. That's right. We're 5-3 now. We had lost to Tulane, lost to Navy, and people were the bowl. How are we going to get to a bowl game? Look at the remaining schedule. And then we beat Memphis and UCF back-to-back weeks. So you play better than I. You play quarterback at BYU. The switch can flip and the season can change in a moment's notice. This game scares the crap out of me personally. I hate this game. I hate traveling to Provo, Utah on a Friday. I hate that it's 40-degree weather. It's a short week. I hate everything about this game. If COVID was still a thing, I would. If I was the head coach, I'd be making up COVID excuses left and right. I hate this game.
And for good reason. I mean, here's another thing too. BYU is the last kind of Halloween on, right? And this is the Halloween weekend game. But in Independence, they have like a 90+% win percentage. Now, part of the reason is they get lesser caliber opponents because everybody's in the thick of their conference schedule. But as is ECU, ECU's in the middle of battling out to stake their claim in their conference and do that. And this game can kind of be a distraction. You got to come out to the Mountain West. I'd venture to say 60, maybe 70% of the roster, maybe even 80% of the roster. This is going to be their first time out at altitude. The stadium's at 4,000 plus feet. And, playing in 40-degree weather. And while, I don't expect a great turnout, it's been 60,000 plus so far this season. There's still going to be 50,000 there. That's a little bit of a down game for BYU, but there's still going to be 50,000 fans there. And if BYU gives them anything to cheer about, they do a pretty good job of juicing the place up. And so, the Pirates better come in here, ready. But as I look at it just schematically and as I've watched film on ECU, a lot of what they do BYU has not been able to find a consistent answer for. So while there's a lot of those maybe circumstantial elements of the game that are in BYU's favor, once the game kicks off between the sidelines, I think this is a major gut check for BYU.
No question about it, Riley. As far as one of the things that I know, one of the other co-hosts, Matt Semenza, he'll be joining us in a little while, but he actually talks about, like I do, you guys are a brand name, and we like the fact when we can play. In fact, we in years upcoming, we have Boise for a home and home, and I know that you guys are going to the Big 12, but do you guys like playing? I know you like to come on the East Coast, but a team like an East Carolina, would you guys keep us on the schedule? I know you're not the athletic director, but is that, like, as far as the fan base, do they like a game like an East Carolina?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. What town is East Carolina in?
It's in Greenville, North Carolina.
Yeah, you're in Greenville, North Carolina. All right, so Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. But so I'm talking Coastal Carolina, the Zach Wilson year, right? You go out there, and the reception that BYU got, the number of fans that they were able to get there. BYU does like these games. Now, there's less opportunities to fit them in, but they love them because BYU has a true national fan base. Most of it has to do with its affiliation with the church, right? The church members show up and support the athletics. But yeah, I mean, ECU is one of those teams that it's a team, as you look at filling out a Big 12 schedule, it's a team that you should beat, but also East Carolina they play good ball out there, right? And has some very good alum, Chris Johnson prime among them, right? And he always has young and upcoming coaches. It reminds me a lot of kind of Utah State here in our own backyard, but it's a little bit more of an exotic opponent that gives you a little bit of different look with a little bit different athlete that's on the field. So I think these now, whether specifically East Carolina, I don't know. That would depend on the relationship between the ADs and how scheduled things. But programs like East Carolina, to me, I think definitely have a place on BYU's schedule as they enter the Big 12.
You mentioned, we talked earlier about playing East Coast teams, and you mentioned playing Arkansas and all that. And you used the term exotic opponent. How do you guys, you guys got a bunch of big boys. You always have a lot of Samoan guys on the defensive side of the ball. How do you guys think that the Southern speed, do you see that as a real thing? Do you see Southern teams being faster than teams from other part of the country
or cities?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We struggle with it big time. I mean, you could see that. I mean, I'm forgetting his name. Sherrod. Anyway, the dude for Liberty, 17 carries, 180 yards. Like, he had a great day on us. We just struggle. You mentioned the size. It's the size versus speed, right? So the cream of the crop, right? The Clemsons, the Ohio States, the Georgias, the Alabamas, all those dudes, they get the dudes who are big and fast. From there, you kind of have to make a decision. And a lot of it has to do with the region of the country. In the South, as you come down, there's probably more good football players that are undersized but fast. And so those dudes fill up kind of those programs as you come down from the top tier. Out here in the Intermountain West, and even in the West in general, there's probably more dudes that have the size, but not maybe the athleticism and the speed. So it really is, it's a good, not complimentary, but kind of conflicting styles of athletes that you fill your roster with. Every call it G5 school that we've played from the South or the East, speed has been a problem. And then every kind of G5 school out here, I played my first year at Utah State. My brothers played there. They seem to have, they got dudes across the line that are measuring 6'4", 6'5", 310, 320. You mentioned the Pollies, the big corn-fed white dudes. The problem is, they can't move, right? They got tight hips. They don't have great lateral movement. And even if, you get a back or wide receiver that breaks through the first line of the fence, oftentimes they're getting hawked rather than taking it to six. So I do think that the depth of rosters are filled out with a different type of athlete. And in just my experience, the smaller, speedier type athlete tends to win out more times than not.
Do you guys on defense? I've watched you guys play. I watched you play Baylor, and watched I think the Utah State game. But I didn't take note. Do you guys do more man or more zone defense, or do you mix it up?
More zone recently. So the problem with man that they've had is no pass rush, right? And even with 5, and they're not going to go 6, right? Even with 5, they don't seem to be getting home. They're one of the last teams in the country as far as sacks. And so they're like, well, we can't leave you can't ask anybody to cover for more than 4.5, 5 seconds. And so when you can't get a pass rush, what you got to kind of do to stop the bleeding is you got to cover it up on the back end with a zone. So more recently, it's been zone coverage. They were pretty 50-50, those games you mentioned. But expect more zone. Although with how bad it looked against Liberty, maybe they'd come out and completely change it. I will say this though, philosophically and defensively, BYU just hangs their hat on the fact that the majority of college football programs cannot execute deep enough into a game long enough, put together enough, 8, 10, 12 play drives to score enough to beat us. They maybe have 2, maybe 3 drives where they can put together a double-digit play drive that ends in the touchdown, right? Well, that hasn't proven to be the case as Liberty had 5 touchdowns of double digits or more. Every one of Notre Dame's touchdown drives, every one of their 4 touchdown drives was a double-digit drive that chewed up clock. So their theory has been broken in recent weeks that teams actually have been able to execute against them for long enough. And what it's done is basically the defense has played almost, if you look at number of plays, the BYU defense has played 2 more games than the offense has because the defense has been on the field so much longer. They can't get off the field. And then conversely, they've gotten a bad case of the 3 and outs that the offense can't seem to stay on the field and put together drives either. So, like I said, like I kind of started out at the beginning, I think majority of BYU fans expect BYU to win this game, but they got a lot of leaks they got to plug.
And I was just going to ask about injuries. Riley, I know I was joining a little bit late. I don't know if you guys have talked about it, but as far as injuries are concerned, how do you guys – we have one of our running backs out for the year with Rajay Harris, but it's probably the biggest name that can come to the top of my head. But what about you guys for BYU as far as injuries are concerned?
Yeah, middle linebacker Peyton Wilgar. They kind of have 4: Keenan Peely, Wilgar, Tooley, and Ben Bywater. Peyton Wilgar, of those 4 main linebackers, he's going to be out for the season. But other than that, they're probably as healthy as they've ever been, and especially on the offensive side of the football. Now, Jaron Hall's been dealing with an AC joint separation, but supposedly that has gotten better. And I will say, no, he didn't throw the ball that much. He was, I think he only had 17 attempts against Liberty, but he didn't seem to have the issues pushing the ball down the field that he did against Arkansas and Notre Dame. So offensively, they're as healthy as they've ever been. They are going to miss that line. They are going to miss Wilgar as a linebacker is out for the season. The rest of the other guys are, probable to questionable. And so BYU should be as healthy as they have been at any point in the season.
Yeah, Mike Houston alluded to the fact that you guys are going to get a lot of players back this week. Your running back got banged up against Liberty, so he's going to be good to go.
As far as I know, yeah, they didn't. He was probable in the presser last week, and BYU's normally pretty straightforward about who's playing and who's not. So yeah, between Chris Brooks and Miles Davis, both of whom have had a 100-yard game, but it just hasn't been there consistently enough. Hopefully, one of those 2 can kind of break out and provide some kind of stability for this offense to be able to build upon and possess the football and put some drives together and ultimately more points up on the board than the 14 they managed last Saturday.
So you guys, you mentioned you guys feel this is a must-win. You guys are 3-point favorites. Does your fan base feel this is a game you're going to win, or do you feel like they feel like it's a game they hope to win? So
they're shell shocked. I think they still feel like they're going to win it, but everybody thought that against Liberty as well. And obviously you look what happened there. I mean, it wasn't even 38-14. That wasn't even close. That wasn't even like, a couple plays go, ball bounces a different way. That was like you went and got beat up by a team that your fan base was sure you were going to beat. And so everybody kind of is questioning that. Although I will say, if you were to take a poll, I'd say the majority feel this is a game BYU should win.
Gotcha.
And I know with what about special teams? How are you guys?
Can't kick a field. Yeah, they can't. They haven't attempted a field goal in 4 games. That's because In the 2 games prior, they were 0 for 4 on field goals and 2 for 6 on extra points.
Hey, we got something in common.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I was getting ready to tell you, Raleigh. I thought you guys were having an advantage. I didn't know that about you guys. I missed that memo. But man, this has been the worst. I will tell you guys.
Hey, look, Saturday night was we only missed 1 field goal.
I know. I'm talking about I'm not talking about the previous game. The season as a whole until Saturday night. There was at least 6 extra points missed.
6 extra points, and I don't know how many field goals. We haven't attempted a lot of field goals.
I mean, BYU's looking for baby steps. They made both their extra points against Liberty, and so and that was the first game. That was the first time they'd missed all their extra points prior. So they were going for 2 against Arkansas and the second half against Notre Dame.
I'm calling it now. It's going to come down to somebody making a field goal to win the game.
No.
Yeah, no, and hopefully it's not BYU. Like I said, they put the kicker away. They literally have not attempted a field goal in 4 games, and everybody was like,
wow.
There was sarcastic cheers from the BYU fans that were at Liberty.
You can't do that
when they made the extra points.
Yeah, you
crazy.
Can't completely abandon the kicking game. That's not realistic.
I'm telling you, when BYU's trying to find answers, it's more than just defensively and a little bit offensively. It's in all 3 phases. Which again, guys, I'm not the most optimistic.
That's what I was going to ask you about the very thing. This is the worst. If you want to use this, Raleigh, this is the worst we've had since 1998. And then Bubba's a stats guy.
That's the teams you're referring to.
Special teams, yeah. The worst kicking we've had since 1998. And if you go back before that, Bubba mentioned 92. We only made 2 field goals that season. So wow. I didn't know that. I don't remember that being this bad. But those are the 2. Usually our special teams are decent or very good, but this year has been tough. Last week we finally, maybe we're turning a curve, but it's been people are cheering really loud when we make extra points now. So.
Yeah, I mean, the other aspects, the return game is just okay. And then the coverage units are fine. BYU does have a punter that can kick the crap out of the ball, but nobody wants to cheer for a good punter because that means your offense ain't doing very good. So, hey, fellas, I hate to do this to you. I know we had some technical difficulties at the beginning, but if you got a last question we can wrap up on, I got a pregnant wife with 3 young kids, and I'm getting a lot of texts. So if I can go give her reinforcements, that'd be good.
I totally understand that. Thank you so much for your time. And certainly I wish that we could make the trip. Provo, what I've seen on television is very beautiful. And I know there are a lot of fans that went out there. I know.
Hey, I got an odd question for you before you go.
All right.
Yeah. Last one.
All right. What's the deal? I seen this on TikTok. Is it a real thing? Do you guys put creamer in soda? Is that a thing?
Yeah. So So here's all the background, right? The predominant religion, the Mormon religion, which is that's BYU, right? They're associated with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Has a no coffee, no tea rule, and so people still need their caffeine somehow. So they go to sodas, and just like when you go to Starbucks, basically what hipsters have done to coffee, Mormons have done to soda. So yeah, I mean creamer, half and half.
Wow.
Milk, they call them dirty sodas out here, where you take the plain sugary soda is not good enough. You add all sorts of different stuff in there to spice it up, I guess. I for one don't sleep good when I pump myself full of caffeine, and being a former athlete, soda was a no-no anyway, so I don't participate in it, but it is a very real thing. They have these little drive-through shops. They almost look like snow cone, places that you see throughout the summer, and they just dispense sodas all day, and they put all the syrups, the creams, all that junk in there.
Well, it's kind of almost old school brought back, kind of almost like an old soda fountain and a soda jerk, where they would make unique drinks, but kind of a new spin on it. So
next time y'all are out here, you have to treat yourself to one. Good to be with you, fellas. Thanks again.
All right. Have a good night. Appreciate you, buddy. Bye-bye. All right, Riley Nelson there. And I actually thank you, Kyle, because I had not heard about that. I knew about the no coffee or tea, so I knew about that. I did not know about the that's cool. I learned something today. I finally learned something today. All right, it's when
I wake up in the morning, I don't want no coffee and tea. Finish the line now, Dave. Come on.
I can't think of it off the top of my head.
George Thurgood, baby.
Yeah. One bourbon, one scotch, one beer.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
No, it's a drink alone. That's a drink alone with nobody else. Yeah. Anyway.
All right. So we're talking.
Now we can talk trucker songs.
Yeah, absolutely. On the Road Again. That's one of my favorite songs, Willie Nelson. So I know it's more about concerts and living that, but On the Road Again, when I'm driving, there's certain driving songs that I love, and absolutely.
John Fisher, what is your favorite trucker song as a trucker?
Do we have John? He's an East Carolina football equipment truck driver, and of course, Justin Butts. There's John. Hey, John.
How's it going, fellas?
John, all right, we'll start it off. What's your favorite trucker song?
Oof. Honestly, I don't know if I have one.
No, how can you be a trucker and not have a favorite trucker song?
EC Victory.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a pirate fight song. There we go.
And the favorite TV show has got to be BJ and the Bear.
Oh, man, I love trucker songs. Are you kidding me?
Breaker 1-9.
Roll on 18-wheeler, Alabama.
Oh, yeah, Alabama.
Driving My Life Away, Eddie Rabbit. Little Rick Vine, Teddy Bear.
Yeah.
Hey, well, first of all, John, we appreciate you coming on tonight. And appreciate Justin Butts for setting this up. We know you guys are obviously still several hundred miles away from Provo and currently traveling through the state of Nebraska, right?
Yes, sir. We are actually stopped and trying to get fuel now before we get into no man's land where we're not going to find any. And then we will be on the way to roll out the last, I believe it's 850 or so miles.
Yeah. Yeah, Wes has a great one, by the way. I'm a huge Smokey and the Bandit fan. I think so is Kyle. Eastbound and down.
Eastbound and down, baby. Well, only he's westbound and down. John, when you got this assignment, when you saw the schedule, and you found out you were going to be driving from Greenville to Provo, I'm sure you've made long trips before, but where does this rank in the longest trips you've made, whether driving the equipment truck or just driving in general?
When I first started driving, I did a lot of coast to coast from California to Massachusetts and everything. So this isn't bad. I don't drive over the road anymore. I actually work in the office, and I get to come out and do this for football. Tim and Justin gave me the opportunity. So it gets me out of the office and kind of scratches the itch of wanting to drive again. And, coming this far out west, it's nice because you get to change of scenery. And so, yeah, it's nice. It's different.
Talk about, can you talk about as far as, the equipment, but how many pounds of equipment do we have? Do you know that off the top of your head?
I do not. I would say between everything that they haul, this one doesn't seem very heavy.
Really?
Do we have any heaters in there?
That I do not know. I did not see what all they loaded. I actually showed up as they were putting the last few totes on. So, But no, I'd say we're probably around 30,000 pounds worth of equipment.
Wow.
Okay.
That's really cool. And as far as how long have you're talking about the driving, how long has the company been driving trucks for East Carolina? In
total, I am not sure. I believe they've been doing it for the last 6 years that I know of.
Okay. That's very cool. I mean, that's I know Bubba, you and I would probably, and Kyle, we'd be sleeping there.
So John, driving the equipment truck, it's I'm assuming it's the big truck with anointed. The trailer's got all the East Carolina accoutrement on it, correct?
Yes.
So do you get many comments at truck stops when you go in do you meet any Pirate fans on the road on these trips?
Normally, I haven't. I have had a couple trucks honk at us when we're going past them with the hookup.
Nice.
And normally we get to the truck stops whenever I go to fuel up or anything. They'll come out and they'll ask, what the truck is. And then when we tell them, they buzz everyone else in the truck stop. They come out, they look at the truck, take pictures. And
yeah, it's cool. I've always wished, totally off topic, well, kind of sort of off topic. I think somebody's missing the mark on not coming out with a die-cast line. 124 scale of all the equipment trucks for the different schools. I'd love to have them.
Yeah, that would be pretty neat to have.
Yeah, quite that. You have so much East Carolina stuff, Kyle. That would be awesome. In fact, John, as far as East Carolina is concerned, with the fan base, I know you're driving around. Kyle was asking about it. One question I do have is, do you have a favorite truck stop?
Little America off of I-80. There's multiples of them, but the Little America truck stops are by far my favorite.
Why do you like them so much?
They're just the way they're designed, and they're just very nice truck stops.
Now, you don't drive as much as you used to, so I guess when you get out on the road now, you enjoy it. Is there a favorite truck stop food? Is there a go-to meal?
No, I really don't like the truck stop food. It's all the same.
Gotcha.
I try to get fuel at Only Loves when I'm out driving, and it seems to be either Subway or Arby's to eat at, and I'm not a fan of either one. So
okay. They got the new Diablo chicken sandwich there at Arby's. It's supposed to be super hot. I don't know if you'd want that driving down the highway, though.
No, probably not.
Yeah.
What's that truck stop that's in South Carolina they have now, the really big one?
Oh, you're talking about Bucky. Bucky's isn't a truck stop. It's a big-ass gas station.
Okay, gas station. Okay. I was thinking it was a truck stop, but there is a difference.
Yes.
I didn't realize it. So
yes.
That's something I want to.
There is a really cool truck stop on off I-95 in South Carolina that has like every damn restaurant you can think of at it. Are you familiar with what I'm talking about, John?
No, I know we have the one in Kinley, North Carolina, that's actually right by us that has six or seven different restaurants inside of it.
I did not realize there was one in Kinley. Now I'm going to have to go to Kinley just for that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
all right. Another question. We're just going to ask truck questions because it fast. I romanticize it. Smokey and the Bandit. Told you I love trucker songs. CB radios. Do you still use CB?
I have one in here, but over the last few years that I drove, they kind of died out.
Yeah, so like with cell phones. Yeah.
Yep, they are pretty much just in here for show nowadays.
Oh man, what about as far as you listen to like satellite radio? I know a lot of the truck stops you go to with I have Sirius XM. Do you guys listen to that, being that you're going coast to coast?
Yes, I have Sirius XM on my phone because I listen to it, wherever I'm at.
So what's your go-to? Do you like talk radio or music when you're driving?
It varies. Depends on how long I'm driving. I'll listen to music or I'll listen to talk radio.
Okay. So since you don't have a favorite trucker song, what kind of music do you drive to?
I honestly bounce around to pretty much everything.
Okay.
I just keep scrolling through stations.
I got you.
And by the way, if our fans, Pirate Nation, you have a question for John driving the equipment truck, and you guys are in Nebraska, if you have any questions right now, you can put it on YouTube or Facebook. I was going to say FaceTime. But John, seriously, with how much leave time do you guys have to? Is there a certain deadline that you have to have all the equipment there by? Like, is it
yes,
day or how does that work?
So we have to be at the hotel Thursday morning to unload the stuff that stays at the hotel, and then we have to be over to the stadium and stage before the team arrives. So when they get off the plane, the equipment team gets on their bus and they come straight to the stadium to unload the trailer and to set up all the coach equipment, the field, everything.
Have y'all ever not made it on time? Have y'all ever got there? Well, not on time in terms of by game time, but have you ever got there late? Has something ever held you up where you were pushing it to get there and get set up before the team got there?
Not that I'm aware of. We are very good at what we do and making our deadlines. And like this trip here, we have 2 trucks staged. So if anything was to happen, we would have another truck to us within a couple hours to get up and be on the way.
And as far as we were talking about what kind of talk about the you were talking about the stuff at the hotel. What kind of stuff is at the hotel? We can obviously imagine what would be all the football equipment, but as far as the hotel, what kind of stuff do the guys have and the ladies?
Gatorades, waters, and then whatever else goes in there. They have a couple other totes, but I honestly do not know what they have inside them.
Gotcha.
Yeah. What about as far as when you were talking about driving? I know another thing I see a lot of are people big into like as far as TVs and stuff like that. I guess there's 2 of you, so one guy could watch the television while the other person's driving.
Yes, we don't have one in here because normally it is only one driver,
okay.
And we're not going far enough. But
okay,
if you were out on the road or anything, yes, you'd probably have your TV, microwave, everything you would have in your house, pretty much.
Well, that's crazy.
What is your most most interesting or what's the craziest thing that ever happened to you driving trucks?
Oof. Probably getting some of the snowstorms that I've been stuck in. Been stuck in some wild situations with dealing with storms and probably in predicaments I shouldn't have been in.
So you just get to a point where you just have to pull over, find a truck stop, get aside the road, and just wait it out.
Find anywhere that you can get pulled over and wait it out.
Yeah, I imagine that can be a scary situation. At least you're in the truck, you have your sleeper cab, you have everything you need. So I guess once you get in a safe spot, you just know it's going to just mess up your time.
Yep.
So. All right, and we do have a question. Let's go ahead and put that one up. Craig's asking, what's the best reception you have had driving into an away game town, and what's the worst as far as seeing that East Carolina truck come in?
Honestly, this is my first year doing it, so I haven't really ran into anything. It's normally when I come in, it's quiet, and I leave out right after the game. So normally I'm on the road before most people clear out of the stadium.
Yeah, and plus you drove to Boca Raton. There was no South Florida fans. You drove to Tulane. That it was during fall break, so the students weren't there. And so now this will be the first time where there'll actually be fans that give a damn when you drive into Provo. But
yes, sir. That's what we're looking forward to.
I don't imagine that the Mormons are going to be too hostile. Not until game time anyway.
No, hopefully not.
Wouldn't think so.
Yeah, and as far as with BYU and with the big game, are there places that you would like to travel to? Maybe certain universities that you would like to take the equipment truck to?
South Florida, nice and warm. I mean, preferably anywhere that's not cold.
So you're hoping that we end up somewhere in Florida for a bowl game?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That would be really cool. There are a lot of us that would love that too, John. In fact, I don't know if you heard the previous guest, but Riley, he said that it's going to be 40 degrees on Friday night. So, and it's over 4,000 feet above sea level. So, hey, it's that time of year. So I guess we can all expect it's going to be chilly out there, regardless if you're in North Carolina or I know if it's up in the Northeast, so it'll be definitely colder. But hey, just about where you are, it's going to be cold now, right?
Yeah, which surprisingly, it's honestly not as bad as I expected it to be. We looked at the weather last week, and we saw a lot of negative temperatures was in the forecast. But as we got out here, I mean, I'm in Aurora, Nebraska right now, and it's 60 degrees.
Wow.
So
that's warm for Nebraska this time of year for sure.
Yes.
One driving question I had: is there a state that you like the most, state that you don't, or you do not care about what state you're in as far as driving a truck?
Anywhere in the Northeast, really, I don't care about, just for traffic. But favorite state would probably be Louisiana.
Why
Louisiana? Why Louisiana? I did not expect that.
Food.
I like
good
to
point. Eat, and they got the best food.
And
good point.
The people there, I've been to Louisiana 4 times. Yeah, 4 times. And the people there are so, I don't know if you experienced that, John, in Mississippi and in Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana, very friendly people there.
Yes.
Very down home, laid back people that are really good people. That's been my experience there for, like I said, Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana when I've been there. So it's a lot of fun. What kind of you like the Cajun food? I take it then in Louisiana.
Yes, the gator, boudin, everything.
Oh, boudin balls.
Yes.
Beignets and all that good stuff. No, that sounds good. I definitely can feel you on that.
In fact, Wes, by the way, just said as far as Provo, they just had about a foot of snow in the mountains there.
Well, there you go.
Hey, it is what it is. We're going to do the best we can with that. And as far as coming back, it takes a few days to get there, get back to Greenville. Well, where are you guys located, by the way? I'm sorry.
Wow.
You're in the Kinley area?
Yes. So it takes we figured about 36 hours to get across here. We're pretty far ahead of schedule right now. So depending on weather going back, I figure if we can have the same luck we had coming out, then we should be back in probably 34 hours.
Nice. All right. We got anything else for John?
Yeah, Bubba wants to chime in.
Now, this may have been mentioned, John. I know you referenced the 36-hour trip. So, if you would talk about some of the logistics from a shift standpoint. I know 2 drivers, 10-hour shifts. Whether it's that specifically, or some of the other things that the average person who's not a truck driver needs to think about.
Sorry, you kind of broke up a little bit.
Yeah, he was asking about the logistics with shift driving with 2 drivers and how does it break up and such.
So when you leave out, we left out of our terminal where we stage the truck at. Go up to Greenville. Once we leave out of the yard, we have, a 14-hour clock that we're allowed to drive 11 hours in. So we start riding, and the co-driver I have now is very experienced. So I ran my 11 hours last night. I stopped in Indiana. He took over. He ran today, and then when he ran out, we swapped, and that's pretty much how we do the whole way. I mean, we'll stop to get fuel and to eat, but other than that, we just keep riding.
Gotcha.
Have you had experiences where you had good drivers and bad drivers that are co-driving with you in the past?
No, I mean,
not with this company. Justin's a friend.
Hey, John's not going to throw any of his fellow drivers under the bus or under the truck.
No, when I first started driving, I did.
Yeah, Jimmy, he sucks.
When I first started driving, I drove with a real good friend of mine, and I've only had 2 other team drivers that I've ever driven or rode teams with.
Have you ever seen any good-looking female truckers?
Yes, there are a few of them out there. Yep.
All right. I remember there was one on Ice Road Truckers back in the day, but that she was on TV, so I was wondering how many of them were really out there in real life.
And Craig has another question for you on YouTube tonight. Craig asked, Do they put you up in decent hotels?
Yes, so we stay with the team. So we'll be in the same hotel that the team is in whenever we arrive.
Nice.
So you're not like in the Dewdrop Inn while they're staying at the Hyatt?
No.
Okay.
No, they take care of us pretty well.
Good deal.
No doubt. We're very excited. Go ahead, Bubba.
I was just going to thank John for coming on. We appreciate your time tonight, John. Safe travels, and here's to a Pirate victory on Friday night in Provo.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. We had a lot of fun, and maybe one of these times Justin will let us ride with you guys. What do you think, Kyle? You want to do that?
Well, I damn sure ain't going to be co-driving, but yeah, I'd love to ride. So yeah, John, if you ever got room for us, let us know. I'll bring my collection of trucker songs, and we'll have a great time.
You got your playlist ready to go.
There you go.
Be safe, John. Thank you so much, man. Go Pirates.
Thank you for having me.
All right, bye-bye.
Thanks, John.
Very cool there to have
you
John.
best believe I took my turn at riding Teddy Bear.
I love that. Yeah, I love those. I do like those songs. And when I was a kid,
hey, look, I'll send you something later, Dave. That Hank Hill, King of the Hill, did a version of Teddy Bear by Red Sovine. It is hysterical. Yes, it's
oh
hysterical.
my God, I love King of the Hill. Oh my gosh.
Yes,
all right, please do that. I would love that.
Hey, we love it when our viewers, promote.
Do I wear PGX driving gloves, Kyle? Yeah, yes, I do, Craig.
Yes.
All the time. I wear them all the
Craig.
time.
Thank you, Craig. You know how much we actually do love PGX gloves, and we'll be talking about that in a little while. But right now, about the game, guys, I know Kyle, you're feeling nervous about the game. Bubba,
yeah,
Bubba's like Switzerland. Do you think? How are you feeling about the game, Bubba?
I think if we play the way we can play, I like our chances. I really do. And the more I look at it, I certainly understand a lot of the things that Kyle's saying, and those are certainly valid concerns. Be it the cold weather or BYU being a very capable team that's coming off 3 losses, and seeking to quote get right, so to speak, and finish their season on a strong note as they're sitting here 4-4, and certainly not where they anticipated being. And and obviously, the altitude. Coach Houston referenced the altitude in his weekly press conference remarks on Monday. Obviously, bumped up a day because of the Friday game.
I loved his approach, by the way.
He said it's only an issue if you make it an issue.
Yeah, I agree with him 100%. I wouldn't even talk about it to the players. I wouldn't bring it up. Wouldn't talk about it.
Craig says he's with Kyle. This one scares me. Have to have a performance like last week. Well, of course, BYU is not an FCS opponent. They're not a dog of obviously FBS, and I don't care what their record is. They're still a good football team.
Well, they're 4-4. They're not 0-8, and they have good wins, and they've only lost to good teams. It's not like they lost to a bad team. People are like, oh, Liberty. Well, Liberty is 6-1 for crying out loud.
So 7-1 with a 1-point loss to Wake Forest, who's the top 15 team.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, Liberty, they've lost to Liberty, they've lost to Notre Dame, they've lost to Arkansas, and they've lost to who else was it, guys? Oregon. Now, ask yourself this. Do you think East Carolina would have beaten Oregon? Do you think East Carolina would have beaten Arkansas? Do you think East Carolina would have beaten Notre Dame, maybe depending on when we played Notre Dame? Do you think East Carolina is a shoe-in to beat Liberty? The answer is no. Could we have won those games? Yeah, but we wouldn't have gone 4-0 against those 4. So to sit here and, there's a reason BYU's the favorite. They're a 3-point favorite for a reason. And I think if we go in there and beat them, like if we win by more than a touchdown, I will be thoroughly shocked. I think it's going to be a very close ball game down to the wire. And, I'm calling it now just because we both suck at field goals. It's going to come down to a field goal.
Conrad's going to make it.
Calling it now.
How about that?
Yeah. And by the way, to me, this would be a signature win. If people talk about a UCF signature win, I don't care. Look, you go to BYU and you beat them in Provo, to me, that's a signature win. It's a Power 5 win, even though they're not officially in the Big 12 yet. To me, this is a Power 5 win. So whenever name bearing opponent. To me, this is an opportunity. Also, Friday night ESPN too. It's a great opportunity. A lot of people are going to be watching. A lot of people that don't normally watch Pirate football. So it's an opportunity, and for the team, my advice would be: you got an off week coming up. You just had 2 big wins. Go out there and play and have fun. That would be my approach to this game. Let BYU stress their asses off about how much they need this game, and I would advise our football team to go out and have fun. And that's my approach to this game. Because to me, if we take, I don't know. To me, there's so many bad intangibles in this game. If you to me, if you're too serious, you're going to be too tight in this game. So my advice would be go be loose and have fun.
Absolutely. I mean, when you look at, and this team is, and look at our team, we're coming off of 2 wins, and
exactly. And if you lose this game, you can still play for the conference championship. It doesn't matter.
We can still go.
Yes, it matters in terms of the record, but in terms of our goal, if we lose this game and we win the rest of our games, if we get a little help, all we have to do is finish second in the league to play for the conference championship. So this game, to me, go have fun and see if you can go get it. Everybody's going to notice this win. I promise you. Everybody in America, everybody in North Carolina, if East Carolina beats BYU on Friday night, everybody will notice this win.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And I think especially with BYU has the great team. Well, they put it all together. I don't know, but it seems like, guys, and I'm not trying to. I know they're playing tough competition, and I know we can lose this game, and all the reasons you've laid out, Kyle. So it's not like I'm delusional on it. But what my take is we're peaking at the right time. Kyle, I tip my hat to you. You reminded us a few weeks ago when everybody was in the panic room about how this team is heading the wrong direction, all that. And we were not doing great as we should. But guess what? This team is heading the right direction. They're peaking at the right time. And I think if we'd play this, I said this on the playback on Sunday night, if we'd play the BYU team at the beginning of the year, I would be really, really nervous. It's not that we can't win the game, not that we can't lose the game, but I really feel like that we're in a much better place now than we would have been earlier in the year.
No, I in terms of how we're playing now, first couple games of the year we were playing really well, but we, around game 4, 3, 4, 5, whatever, 3 through 5, we were slipping, and I think BYU, I think it's a bit unfortunate, as Mike Houston pointed out and as Riley pointed out, they're going to be as healthy as they've been since the beginning of the year this week. So in terms of that, I think we may be catching them at a bad time. They're getting a lot of players back Friday night. But in terms of the direction they're heading, it could be the right time to play them. They demoted their defensive coordinator, Kalani Sitake, is going to be calling plays on defense. So that could play a role. This is a very interesting game to me.
What do you guys? I was going to ask you that. Don't you think it comes down to our offense versus their defense? Because our defense, like you said, Riley said earlier in the show.
Well, maybe, but also their offense at times has been really good. So if they're back healthy on offense,
their defense,
then how well will our defense play against them? I don't know. It's their quarterback. Is how healthy is he? They're questioning, that's the thing, he's still been banged up. So, but their running back's supposed to be back. They're supposed to get a lot of pieces back this week. So
speaking of the pieces for BYU, here in the last few hours, news broke, and this is from, I think it's KLS out in, or KSL, excuse me, KSL Sports on Twitter. It says BYU running back Chris Brooks, and then also wide receiver Cody Epps, who's a freshman. But
oh wow, they're out.
Well, that's
Bob, you cut out, but it's on the screen.
Yeah.
So those two are out for. So bad intel from Riley saying that the running back looked like he was going to play.
Yeah, I mean that right there is that's big, and especially with
Bubba, you there?
Our defense, that would be a concern I would have is how well will the defense play? Will they play like last week? Or are they going to be playing with the Kyle with a lot of those big plays? That's the scary part too that you worry about.
All right, can you guys hear me now?
We hear you now. Yeah. So they're starting running back and a key wide receiver are out.
Chris Brooks, just under 500 yards on the season, 6 yards per carry, 5 touchdowns, and then you had Cody Epps, their leading receiver, 39 catches for right at 460 yards, 12 yards per reception, and 6 touchdowns. So an awful lot of production is going to be missing, per that report.
So bad intel coming from somewhere, either from Riley or either from that report, one or the other.
Well, yeah, that was coming from BYU sources. So we shall see, but
conflicting reports.
Yeah, looking at the matchup, with the way they've been getting chewed up, extensively on the ground. When we were talking to Riley Nelson, he was talking about the day that the Liberty running back, Day Hunter, or I think that was his name. But anyway, Day had 23 rushes for 213 yards, and like I said, over the last 3 games. Yes, quality competition, very, very good competition against Notre Dame, Arkansas, and Liberty, but giving up between 270 and 275 on the ground. So interested to see what Keaton Mitchell and Marlon Gunn can do. And Holton, with the way, you look at Holton. Holton's had an excellent year, but the last 2 games, 56 out of 70. So he's completed 80% of his passes, 615 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. And BYU has struggled to put pressure on the opposing quarterbacks, and just 9 sacks for the Cougars. And I think about half of those came in the first 2 or 3 games of the year. So they've really, really struggled over the last several games since I think it was the Oregon game to get any heat on the quarterback. So that better change, or with the way Holton and Isaiah Winstead, and obviously CJ Johnson, with the way they've been clicking, it could be a fun night.
Oh yeah, Ryan Jones and Kyle. Another point that you've made, the X factor this year for sure. How about we throw more? And you made a great point. Every time you get the ball, and Ryan Jones, he's one of my favorite players on the team. Every time you get the ball in his hands, good things happen. And he's another one that I hope that we can we can go to that guy, because that kid is very special, and we're very blessed to have him. And you mentioned Isaiah Winstead has been amazing. CJ Johnson, we knew he was going to have a good year. We felt like it if he could just get himself off the field, back on track. And man, he's had a wonderful year. What's the health on Jalen Johnson?
Well, against UCF, Jalen played, I think it was about 15 snaps.
Yeah, not a lot. I was just wondering.
But I think according to reports, his lower back tightened up on him once again. Some issues there. So hopefully he'll be able to go Friday, but have not heard anything definitively. And a little as far as BYU's defense is concerned, as far as their personnel, I don't know. Maybe when I had to step away for a few minutes, and maybe Riley discussed this, but they're led by their linebackers, Ben Bywater, and then also Max Tooley. Tooley has 3 picks, and then Bywater has 2 picks, and then they both have right around 60 tackles. So those are a couple of guys to keep an eye on for BYU's defense.
Linebackers are strength of the same, it sounds like. So it may not be the best nights to go through the tight ends, but it'd be interesting if we eat them up outside. They sounds like they zone it up a lot because they're not getting pressure on the quarterback. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
Yeah, and I think I think Holton, man, anything is possible, but I think Holton is going to prove a lot of the doubters wrong. Garcia. I'm looking forward to seeing Garcia, but Holton has one more year, and I think it's going to be great to see Holton play. And I think
Holton does not have one more year, but
no, I'm talking about that
The remainder of this year.
And then we'll be seeing Garcia's going to be a great quarterback. And hey, yes, Stubblefield, Flynn, and what was the kid's name? I can't forget the great quarterback we got from South Carolina that committed. I know it was a verbal, it wasn't signed, but
yeah, that's Raheem Jeter.
Yeah, Jeter. Yeah, Jeter is great. How about Craig saying oxygen? Their altitude will be a factor. Needs sustained drives on offense to give.
Yeah, I don't believe in that. I just don't. I don't believe in the altitude. I mean, I've never played in it, but I'm with Coach Houston. Just don't make it an issue. Don't make it an issue. Yeah. I mean, it ain't Laramie. I mean, I know the altitude's high, but it ain't Laramie. I think that's about as bad as you get.
I was going to ask that, Pace. Do we bring heaters and cold weather gear? Don't want the 2014.
I hope so. I hope we do. Well,
that's something Coach Houston, kind of in a roundabout way, he didn't address it specifically, but he did talk about it today at the press conference. He was asked by Glenn Griffin of Pirate Radio, just talking about the heaters, and he said no, I'm not saying that we won't use heaters, but that that we'd be ready to go.
Yeah, if we lose the game, it will not be because of lack of heaters. It'll be because we lost to a good BYU team, even though they're 4-4. They're still a good football team. So I'm not going to be making excuses of that. It'll be because we got our butts kicked by BYU. It's not because of all the other things.
Yeah, no, I'll probably use those intangibles. I'll probably make excuses because I think they're real. I don't think it's I don't think it's made up. Those things factor into ball games. They do. Intangibles matter. You ask any coach. Yes, it's decided between between the hash marks, but all that other crap does matter. That's why I would take the approach. Have fun. This is a non-conference game against a big name opponent. Somewhere you've never been. I would tell the guys, let's go have fun. It just needs to be I think that's the best way to win this game because BYU is going to be tight. They need this game. They're going to be stressing big time, and if we come out and play loose, and can jump on them early, you could really see things unravel for BYU. I think that's our best bet.
Speaking of jumping on them early, remember what we did out there in 2015. Remember we blocked a punt early for a touchdown. What we jumped up at least was it 14-0 or I think we had a 2-touchdown lead early in the game. I know James Summers had a at least probably a 30-yard touchdown run.
Yeah, we did. We jumped up early and could have won that game. Should have won that game. I don't even want to think about that game actually. But
I was going to ask you guys that thing. Do you are you going to take if you win the toss? Do you defer the halftime? To the second half, or you take the ball and run?
Defer.
All right. So you're going to defer on that?
I always defer. I always want the ball first, second half.
See, I used to be that way until Lincoln Riley, but I know we don't have Lincoln Riley anymore. But I just like to get the ball, especially with BYU. Like if you go ahead and punch them in the mouth, like we did early in 2015.
Now you get a stop.
Well, you can punch them in the mouth defensively.
Exactly.
With the way our defense is playing, I'm with Kyle. I would defer.
I mean, I have no problems. Either way. In fact, we would get the ball back, and so that's fine. The ultimate thing is we got to play well. I mean, you look at the turnover margin. We were +4 on Saturday night. You look at special teams. I don't know if I asked this to playback. Forgive me, guys, if I did. Do you guys think this is the most complete game we've had in the Mike Houston era? It feels like that way for me.
Everybody wants to say it is. I'd have to really go back and analyze things. In terms of against a quality opponent, yes. Yeah, absolutely. But if you look back at some of the wins we've had, last year against Tulane was a really complete football game. Last year against Temple was a really complete football game. But neither one of those schools were the quality of this UCF team.
And that SMU was a big win.
SMU was a very complete game also, yes.
That 19.
Yeah, we gave up a lot of points in the second half, but held on the win. I would say this Tulane and Temple last year in terms of if you want to base it on quality of opponent, then yeah, this would be our most complete.
Yeah, and looking ahead, like you said, Kyle, being this a non-conference game, it's definitely there's more pressure on BYU because of their schedule and
exactly. That's my point. That's why my approach to this game will be go have fun, play loose.
I see what you're saying,
because I think all the pressure is on BYU
because they, like he was saying, they expect to beat East Carolina because I guess we're a group of 5 and we're not Notre Dame.
Well, they're at home. Look, they're at home. They won a national championship in recent history back in the 80s. They, you know,
right?
Yeah, correct. They have Oregon and Baylor and Notre Dame and Arkansas on the schedule. So yeah, they expect to beat East Carolina, and they're 3-point favorite. But you know what? Here's the cool part: we expect to beat them. So that's the good part. That everybody right now in Pirate Nation expects to at least have a chance to win this football game.
Right.
So. Yeah, I have no problem. I have no problem with him expecting to beat us. If he'd have got up here and said, "Oh no, we think we're going to lose," I'd question him. I do. Hey, I don't want to say what he said off the air, but he's worried. But yes, they expect to win this game, and they need to win this game, and that's why I would take the approach and go have fun and see what happens. Because like I said, I think if we play loose and go out there and have some fun, we probably come away with a win.
You guys, and that's what you make a great point, Kyle, because they looked like that last week after that grueling win against Memphis. They looked like they were having fun.
Yeah, we were on a mission last week. We were on a mission. We were having fun because we were succeeding at the job, but we were on a mission last week. We were uber focused. You could just tell. To me, how focused we were. There was nothing going through anybody's mind last week except beating UCF. We were uber focused.
And you think the same thing is for this week with BYU?
I hope we're focused. I think it would be. I would take a different approach, though.
Right,
I think I would. Yes, you always have to be focused, but to me, this game is almost no pressure. To me, this game is if we win this, it's bonus. We get to 6 wins, we're bowl eligible, and all our goals are still in front of us in conference. If you lose it, it certainly is one more loss on the record you don't want, but it doesn't change a damn thing about our goals. Everything's still in front of us. So to me, this is a bonus game. It's a chance to really make a statement on the road on national TV against a name brand opponent.
Robert agrees with you. Says the conference games are important. Kyle's right. Just let it hang out this week. Exactly. I mean, the play calling by the coaches was fantastic. Everything was good last week. I mean, we missed the one field goal, but everything with special teams, except for that, we're good. So a lot of things.
You want to talk about a game that I might run a trick play in? This would be the one, Dave. You're Mr. Trick Play.
I am.
This is the game to run a trick play. To me, go have fun.
All right, that sounds good to me. What about you, Bubba? You, I know that you were talking about earlier with it being that we playing great. I think the team is coming together. Like I said earlier, not to ramble. We're doing great, and not that you can't lose this game, but definitely this program, this season, we're heading in the right direction. And the great thing is, if you're wondering about bowl eligibility, the good news is now you're at a point where the next win, you're going to be bowl eligible, and you have 4 games to do it. So, and I think that we should be striving higher than just to be bowl eligible, right? I mean, we still can win a conference championship. We can be in a conference championship. We can win 9 games potentially. Do I think
we can win 11 games potentially?
That's right, because of the conference and the bowl game. Yep, the conference championship and that. But I'm just saying I meant for the regular season. But
correct.
We can easily go 9-3. Do I think that's going to happen? May not. But hey, right now all we need to be focused on, as Coach Houston would say, is BYU. And then after that, and then having the, I think,
and we have an off week.
Yeah.
So
go out there, get the win. Go out there, get the win. Come home. You got a long time to prepare for Cincinnati. And I think that, like we talked about before, not to get ahead of ourselves, but Cincinnati is beatable. Last year, I would have never told you that, but I knew that our good friend Terry Gallagher, we got to get him back on. But he and I were talking about that last year, about that the things are turning our direction. And one of the things is we're getting older as a team. And that teams like Cincinnati that had the COVID year where they had super seniors and COVID seniors, whatever you want to call them. A lot of those teams like Cincinnati, those guys are gone. I'm not saying they don't have talent. They have talent. They just don't have the experience that a lot of the Desmond Ritter and all those guys.
Cincinnati, we'll worry about that in a couple weeks.
No, I know. I'm just saying.
They are beatable. Interesting game between them and UCF Saturday. I'm looking forward to seeing that one. And
UCF is a favorite, right?
1 point.
Oh, it's only 1 point. Okay. I thought it was like 3 or 4.
But they're still favored. It's 1 point. So. Okay,
got you. All right. So, do you guys have anything before we go? I know we're.
I'd just be interested to see what happens Friday night in Provo.
All right. So, want to remind everybody about our great lineup that you guys can check out Monday nights right here on the Sports Objective, and we have Absolute Empowerment. Our great friend, Coach Jeff Connors, a former strength and conditioning coach from ECU, and he has a lot of great guests on Tuesday nights. Of course, is our Pirate Preview like we have right now. Tomorrow night on Wednesday, if you want to watch live, we have Sonny and Semenza, Matt Semenza, and of course Jay Sunhalter, who play for the Pirates, and the letter winners there. And of course, we have the Pirate Breakdown. Appreciate Sutton Young very much. On Thursday, the Inside Slant is our weekly look at college football. Pirates Life for me, Bubba does an excellent job. If you haven't get a chance to listen to the archives of that, we appreciate that very much, Bubba, for that. On Saturdays during home games, we of course have the sights and sounds of Dottie Ficklin. We obviously won't have that this week. And then on Sundays, we want to thank our good friends at L&K Custom Homes as they present to you our Pirate Playback. We appreciate Kevin Walker, who just had a birthday. KK is awesome, and we appreciate him very much. And you can give him a call. And if you're looking for great work, check out the Facebook page. Man, they put on there in the Guilford County area, and the Triad do great work. Porky's Backyard Barbecue, I want to thank their sponsorship. And I gave a shout out to Kyle for coming up with, if you have a holiday event, call the Holiday Brothers, 252-661. And Bubba had that on the screen. I don't have that memorized, but you can call the great folks there.
Google the number, Porky's Backyard Barbecue.
Yeah, 252-661-0337. Thank you, Bubba, for putting that back on. I should have it memorized by now. And by the way, one thing, Saturday we have a trunk or treat. We're going to be playing music out there. We have a trunk or treat for the kids from 5 until 7. At 7 o'clock, we have a kids costume contest, so you have a chance to win some prizes. At 9 o'clock, we'll have the adult costume contest, and we'll have great music and a lot of fun. That'll be Saturday at Porky's Backyard Barbecue, 805 East Boulevard in Williamston. If you're looking for something to do for the kids early on and the adults, then come out and see us at Porky's. It's going to be a lot of fun. And Kyle, last but not least, our good friends at pgxgloves.com.
Yeah, pgxgloves.com, always a place to get your custom gloves. If you're a golfer, if your kids play sports, go order yourself some custom gloves at pgxgloves.com and put in promo code ECU at checkout and save yourself 25%.
No doubt. And in fact, Craig has a great idea for maybe that Mark Minikazi can make some driving gloves for all the truckers out there. And if you need some driving gloves, some people like to drive with gloves on. So we'll have some driving gloves. Maybe we can talk Kaz into that for sure. All right. For Riley, our great guest, plus Kyle Barber, Bubba Rosenbaum, I'm Dave Richmond. Thanks for tuning in here, the Pirate Preview on the Sports Objective. Good night, everybody, and go Pirates.
I'm a pirate down of my soul, and I don't back down, not at all. Find out when the cannons explode, from the sidelines down to the post. Put it down like not even close, all out to the last whistle blow. For the flag with the soul and carbone.